We'll start in Mitzvah Shem here on Daf Ayin, Perek Shvi, Perek Hamadir. And the Mishnah says, Hamadir is Ishto Milahenoslo. If a man declares Kodem She'inat Nenes Mishali, and he imposed upon her an Isur Neder that she should not benefit from him, and that means his intention was to generate an Isur of all Hana that would come to her from him, and that means Hanas Mamona, Mizonos, Hanas Tashmish. So the Mishnah says it depends. Im Nosan Kitzvah Isuro, if there's a certain limitation, and he says, you know what, I can give it a 30-day period, Ad Shloshim Yom, then Yamid Parnos Shliach Sheifar Sen. So he appoints a Shliach who will give her Mizonos, and it's not exactly Shlichus, as we'll see later. The Shliach will see to it that she gets Mizonos, but she's not getting it from the Baal, because that would be an Isur Neder, but rather she gets it from the Shliach. And we'll see that he's not really a Shliach. But Yesemi came, if he asks Hana for a period that goes beyond 30 days, then in such a case, the Mishnah says, Yotzi v'yiteg ksubasa. He has to divorce her and he has to pay the ksub. He's responsible here. He was the one who took this neder. Now, even though he still has an obligation to support her through a parnas, nevertheless, as far as Mizonos is concerned, that's meaningful. But as far as Tashmish is concerned, the Baal is Meshubah to his wife, and therefore he cannot create an Isur of Hana. His neder will not be chal at all. So his neder is only chal as far as Mizonos is concerned, and that is because he can still support her through this Parnos method, and he's not mechuyev to divorce her because of the Isur Tashmish, because that, as we said before, doesn't lend itself to an Isur Neder. The Isur Neder can't be chal because the Baal's shibur to his wife. But since, as far as Mizonos is concerned, the Pardos now would have to support her for more than 30 days, they must explain why that's a busha for her, and therefore he has to divorce her. That's according to the Tanna Kamma. Yehuda Omer makes the following distinction. Be Yisrael, if we're talking about a Baal who is not a Kohen, and he takes an Isur Hana with a neder, a Kohen, on his wife for 1 month, Yikayim. We're not going to force him to divorce his wife. Ushnayim. But once he gets into the second month, even 1 day into the second month, then Yotzi v'yiteng ksub. So far, Rabbi Yehuda is a reflected image of the Tanna Kamma. But here's where Rabbi Yehuda is machadish. The Kohen, if a Kohen was madir his wife with an Isur Hana, then we should be more flexible, allowing for a longer period of time that perhaps the Baal would have a second thought, and he would be matir the neder, and therefore Shnayim Yikayim Ushlosha Yotzi v'yiteg ksub. We'll give it 2 months, and we're not going to obligate him to divorce his wife. And when we go into the 3rd month, even 1 day into the 3rd month, then at that point we obligate him to divorce his wife. The reason why we're extending it in the case of a Kohen is because once a Kohen gives the divorce to his wife, he can no longer remarry her. There's no option of remarriage because a Kohen can't marry Grusha. So this is an irreversible situation, and therefore we try to avoid it. This reminds us of the sugya of get Makusha. to make it complicated for the get to be created in the case of a Kohen. The Mishnah continues, Hamadir es ishto, if he hears his wife creating an Iser on herself with a neder, for example, Shalotitom echad mikol haper, she won't eat one type of fruit, and the Baal went ahead and he was Makayim the neder, either because he said Mekuyim loch, or he was Shosek, and he wasn't Mayfair the neder. And once again, Yotzi v'Yiteng Ksuba, he's still considered responsible, even though she was the initiator, she took the neder on herself. But since he was Mekayim the neder, and he could have been made for the neder, he's responsible for the neder, and therefore he has to pay the ksuba. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, once again, Rabbi Yehuda is going to distinguish between a Baal who's a Kohen and a Baal Yisrael. Yisrael, Yom Echad, Yikayim, Shnaim Yotzi v'Yiteng Ksuba. In the case of a husband who's Yisrael, and he's allowed to remarry his divorcee, his grusha, he doesn't have to divorce her until the end of the day, and we gave him that time period, that day period, such that he would go to a chacham to be shoel on the neder, and if he failed to do so, he wasn't shoel to a chacham to be matter the neder, then once we go into the second day, and the neder now is valid, then we will compel him to give her get and a ksuba. But with Kohen, where there's an Isur Machzeh Gushoso, he's not allowed to remarry his wife. So the Rabbanan extended that time period to Shnayim, to 2 days. We still keep the marriage going. Shlosha, when we get to the third day, then Yotzi v'Yiteng Ksuba. Now, it seems to me, and I can't prove this to you, that when it says Shnayim, and we're going into the next day, I'm not sure if going to a chacham here at this point would be hafaras nedarim. I think it would be hataras nedarim. The Mishnah continues, Hamadir is ishto shalotis kashe bi'echad mikol aminim. So in terms of cosmetics, he took a konam, he imposed a neder on her, or I think a better shot would be she took the neder that she won't benefit from one of those types of cosmetics, like for example, konam bosem ploniolai. And once again, our husband was Makayim the neder, is Yotzi v'Yiteng Ksuba. Yossi Omer, V'anios, Shelo nasan kitzva, ubashiros shloshim yom. This halacha, says Rabbi Yossi, that Yotzi v'Yiteng Ksuba immediately is only by nios. These are poor women, and they don't have a regilus to be miskashet. And also, Shelo nasan kitzva. Right? He didn't put, or I should say she and then his kiyum, but she didn't put an end, the time limitation, the duration till for her Isur neder. But if she puts a time limitation, a duration, and then after that duration, the neder has terminated, then we'll wait till that time period before we ask the husband to divorce his wife. And if she's an Ashira and she's regulus kashi, then Shloshim Yom. We'll give her 30 days until he has to divorce his wife. Now the Mishnah says, Hamadris ishto milehenos lo ad Shloshim Yom yamid parnos. So the Gemara raises the fine kasha. Kevin the Meshubad law, the Baal is Meshubad from the Zonos, from the time of Nisuin. Hechi komotzi madu. How could this never be chal? Kol Kamini, does he have the authority, the power to create such a neder, the nifkala shibude, to be mafkia, to be mavatel, through this neder, the chiyuv mizonos, the chiyuv to be mefarnis his wife. But now we have a Mishnah on Pehei, that if a woman says to her husband, Konam she'eni osa leficha, eno tzarich lahaseh. Right? If she says that any malacha that I produce is also on you, with a konam, there's no need to be mefer. The neder is not chal at all, because she's mishubedes from Isaiah there. Alma, we see came into the Shabda, lav kol kamini the mifkalei l'shibudet. Hochinami here too came into the Meshubad law, lav kol kamini the mifkalei l'shibudet. The answer is El Mitokshia Cholomalat Sei Maise Yadayach B'Mizonasayach. There is a situation in which he's not obligated to support his wife, and that's where he declares, you know what, you keep your Maise Yadayim, and I don't have to be Mefarnis.